Thank you for staying with us. On our second leg of the big stories, we talk about labor and their conditions of service. Joining us for the conversation, Dr. Yao Ba. He is Secretary General of the TUC. Thomas Musa is General Secretary of GNAT. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us on the AM show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Dr. Ba, I shall start with you. You've been calling in recent times for quite a lot. You've been making some calls, even talking about the fact that the petroleum taxes ought to be scrapped. And you got the response on May Day, Mr. President saying that 4 billion Ghana cedis is what we stand to lose if we take off the petroleum taxes. But you have called for exactly that. There's also that odd issue with Clocks Act, but I'll leave that for later. But when you look at the conditions of service of members of the TUC, what would you describe as your current status quo, your current situation?
Thank you very much. First of all, let me thank all workers of Ghana for celebrating the May Day in a special way yesterday. We haven't had opportunity to do that in about 2 years. This is the third year. And so I think it was really exciting to see workers across the country jubilating around and also, letting all those people who are managing this economy know that things are not going well. The speech I read was on behalf of organized labor, and the idea was to communicate to all those who matter, including the president, the vice president, the Minister for Finance, that things are not going well. Conditions of service for workers have not been good, especially in the last 2 years. As we mentioned in the speech, the salaries are declining in real value. In the last 1 year or two, we have lost nearly 50% of the real value of our incomes. On top of that, we had very low rate of increase for 2021 and 2022. At the time we were negotiating, inflation was 9%. Now inflation is nearly 20%. And that was why we were asking government to, as a matter of urgency, grant COLA so that people's burdens will reduce. And I want to share with you, yesterday, the president of Kenya granted 12% increase in minimum wage for all those in Kenya who earn minimum wage. And that is what we were expecting our president to do yesterday.
Just to clarify, so you said that within the last 2 years, your members have lost about 50% of the value of their revenue or what they get at the end of the month?
Of their salaries, yes. Because if you are on a fixed term income, you are not able to adjust your income or earning as prices move up. We are not like those who are trading. We are not like those who have shops. If exchange rate deteriorates, you can easily adjust. But if you have fixed income, you have to go through negotiations. Now, we did that last year for the 2 years, 2021, 2022. Now, what we are asking government to do, especially the president, is to use his executive powers. And as he did during COVID, to grant 50% increase in salary for health sector workers. Now to all public sector workers, including those in the armed forces and the security agencies. That is the only way, in our opinion, you can reduce the burden immediately. As we work towards reviewing the single spine, as we work towards making sure the inequality in the public service is also reduced or eliminated completely.
Right. A quick one before I move on to Mr. Musa as well. I just want to find out, you draw that link between what has happened in Kenya and the 12% increment on the minimum wage in that country. But you are asking for a COLA or cost of living allowance increment of 20%. Is that tied to the inflationary rate?
Yes, it is. As I said, when we were negotiating, inflation was 9%. And even at the time, we got 7% for 2022. The reason was because the projected inflation for 2022 was 6 plus or minus 2, which means that government was expecting inflation to be maximum 8%. Now inflation is 20%, almost. Now, if you even isolate the items in the basket, you will see that the very, very essential items have had higher prices. Water, for example, the price has gone up on average by 27%. Food by 22 or 25%. And if it happens like that, and you don't do anything to reduce the burden, you risk a lot. And that is why I did not agree fully with the president saying that if I reduce or if I remove all taxes on petroleum, Ghana will lose 4 billion. I don't understand what he meant by loss. You see, if you give something to your citizens, you haven't lost anything. The president only looked at the money aspect in terms of quantum, whatever he said he was going to lose. But if in some countries, they actually give money to their citizens, it is not a loss. I think this is a social investment that we need to do to bring calm to society, to avoid any problems from the social groups and so on, especially if it's coming from labor. We want the labor market to be quiet so that we can recover quickly. And I hope the president will take this again, because when we start engaging on the key issues that I raised yesterday, we will bring it up again. We will bring it up again and again, because we need to also look at the benefits for society that can.
So that means you are not backing down on that request. You are not going to back down on it.
Not at all. Not at all. We will continue to engage on all the key issues, and we will bring this up again.
For you, Mr. Musa, as General Secretary of GNAT, where would you say labor finds itself today? I mean, if you could paint a picture for us, what would that picture be? Hello, Mr. Musa. Are you with me? All right. I believe we'll try to reconnect with Mr. Musa. But let me come back to you, Dr. Ba. So quickly on this. Now, you made mention of the fact that when you look at the price of a liter of fuel, it constitutes 80% of the minimum wage. Now, as it stands, we've been told that the prices of petroleum, petrol, and diesel are going to go up again. It's only LPG that will not be affected. How do you feel this is going to squeeze your members even further? I mean, what do you feel is going to be the realistic impact of another surge in petroleum and diesel prices?
This is going to be bad for everybody, not only our members, and especially so for those who don't earn any income at all. So if, for example, I work and I get 13.53 a day, and I want to buy a liter of kerosene, I spend 80% of that at current prices. And if this should go up again, I don't know what will happen. We hope it will not, because it's going to, create a lot of problems, not only for our members, but also especially for poor people who don't earn any income in this country and who rely solely on some of these products to survive.
Let me bring in Thomas Musa now. Mr. Musa, thank you for staying with us. I was asking you to paint a picture for us. Where do you think labor, especially those in GNAT, find themselves today in terms of the economic circumstances? It appears we've lost Mr. Musa again. But let me ask you very quickly, Dr. Ba. So when it comes to this talk, which the president has brought to the fore as well, about the single spine salary structure, that payment system was meant to ensure that everyone, falls into, everything falls into the proper places when it comes to jobs and getting equal pay for equal work. It appears things haven't exactly panned out the way we planned over 10 years after implementation. But the president has hinted that we ought to look at it as a people and see whether we even want to move ahead with it. What is your take on the single spine and how it could either better the fortunes of your members or otherwise?
When we started single spine in 2010, between 2010 and 2013, things went well. I mean, if you analyze the real value that the single spine brought to our people, it was significant and substantial between 2010 and 2013. From 2013, 2014, When, again, we didn't get any increase in 2014, we got a COLA of 10%. Then things started getting worse. Since then, we have not recovered. That's why we called for a review of the single spine. And when we met at Kwaungkwetia at the conference, all the stakeholders agreed. And that is what we are doing. The process has started. We already have constituted a technical team to advise the National Tripartite Committee on what to do. So I think what the president was saying was just to let the people of Ghana know, and especially workers who are on the single spine, know that government has not forgotten about them and that government is making efforts to review. And we expect that the review will address all the challenges, especially the low level of pay for those on the single spine. Because as I said in the address yesterday, if you compare salary structures of other public sector workers, and you compare that with single spine, you'll see that those on single spine are worse off. And therefore, we expect that the low levels of pay as a big issue will be addressed. The other one has to do with the pay inequality between those on single spine, Article 71, and all those on the state-owned enterprises who are getting not only higher salaries, but already numerous allowances compared to those on the single spine.
Right. I'll come back to you shortly, Dr. Ba, but let me bring in Thomas Musa. Thomas, thank you for joining the conversation.
Thank you, and good morning to your good self and to our leader of organized labor, Dr. Yalba, and to all the listeners. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Great. It's good to finally have you. Just speak up a bit for me so I can hear all of what you're saying. So I just want to find out from you, generally, when it comes to labor matters, where do your members, GNAT members, where do they stand when it comes to the cost of living? How well are your members faring?
Yes, it's an issue of organized labor. And I believe that our leader, in the person of Dr. Yalba, has articulated all the issues eloquently since yesterday when we had the May Day parade celebration, at which the Excellency, the President of the Republic, was in attendance. So the issues have been articulated already, taking into consideration the current living standard and the condition of workers. We have thoroughly examined the condition of workers, based upon which all the issues articulated by our leader was done. So we stand by all the issues that were articulated yesterday, and it's a true reflection of the Ghanaian worker, and that is where we stand. That's where we stand.
That is where you stand.
Yeah.
But in the midst of all the current happenings, I put this to Dr. Ba, I'll put it to you as well, with fuel prices set to go up again, and no conclusion in sight when it comes to, the sort of COLA that you are asking for. I mean, what do you foresee?
So I didn't hear that. Why are we acting on the COLA and all that?
Yes. I'm saying that with prices still edging up, especially when it comes to petrol and diesel, which are set to go up again. And on the back of the fact that whatever negotiations you may have started, Dr. Ba says you will continue harping on the fact that you want a 20% COLA, but that has not come yet. I mean, what do you foresee happening in that respect?
It's simple. We have already indicated. Once it's a kind of a social dialogue like Dr. Yaban has indicated since yesterday, it is a matter of appreciating the levels of difficulty, challenges of workers today and where they come from. Look, if you look at as far back as 2021, we went in for 4%. And at the time that we went for the 4%, the rate of inflation was below 10%. Now, this year, the salaries were increased by 7%. But as we speak now, the inflation for this month, March, is 19.4%. And if you take the inflation rating by rating, you will not get any, but majority on the average about 20+%. So the question is it that the Ghanaian workers should continue suffering? Look, there are three things that we need to take note of. Like I'll keep on making reference to what Dr. Yaban said. The incomes workers take will have a direct effect on what they take home when they go on pension. And as to whether a worker will be able to retire into a 2-bedroom house when he goes for retirement, it's another story. So these are the correlations we need to look at. That the money I am giving to the worker, will that money take the worker home? And if the money cannot take the worker home, if the worker goes on retirement, how will the worker survive?
But government, Mr. Musa, must also work within its means, work within its budget. And it's telling you now that right now, we don't think we can meet, what you're calling for. I mean, when Dr. Ba talks about the fact that they should scrap the petroleum taxes, Mr. President quickly comes in to say we're going to lose 4 billion Ghana cedis, so we simply can't do that now. Shouldn't we just face reality?
We should face reality, eh? So the condition that workers are facing is not a reality. Is that what you are saying?
I'm not suggesting that. I'm merely saying that based on how government has reacted, I mean, if they say they don't have the money, what can you do?
No, you are saying we should face reality, and I'm also asking you that the worker who actually we really considered and looking at the condition of where we are, we took 4% last 2021, and this particular time we took 7%, and we are saying that look, the 2023 negotiation, it cannot be so. And we are also asking that, like our leader said, Dr. Yama indicated yesterday at the organized labor party, specifically the media, that look, given the condition of work, it's a reality. These are the realities on the ground. We are not dealing with hypothetical situations, or we are dealing with some kind of situation that or abstract issues. No, we are dealing with issues and conditions that are happening currently. Okay, that is what we are dealing with, and we are saying that look, the salaries that the workers are taking now, if they go on retirement under such salaries, I tell you, even like I indicated in one of the interviews, even if God has given you 80 years, the moment you go on retirement at 60, you have only 1 year to live and you will die. Because even if you are to live for the rest of the 19 years, you can't survive because you have nothing to live on. You have nothing to live on. And we are even also saying that how will the worker be able to retire into a 2-bedroom house? So nobody is talking about an abstract thing on a hypothetical issues. We are all talking about realities on the ground. The question is inflation 19.5, 19.4% or not? On the average, look at all the inflation and the regional inflation. Go and check. Are the figures there realistic or not? And if they are realistic, why should we look at the government and say that government is dealing with realistic issues, but we, the organized labor, what are we dealing with? The same thing.
Okay.
So please, these are issues confronting all of us. And like our leader has said, Dr. Yaba has said, we stand by everything that was said on that particular day, and he has our backing.
All right. Very quickly on this one, I'll pose the question to both of you, but I'll start with you, Mr. Musa. So looking at all these dynamics, would you say the single spine policy has lived up to expectation? And if not, what do you want to see in that, let's say, by close of year?
Oh, at the time of implementing formulating the subsequent with implementation, it was made clear that every 5 years it will be reviewed. So normally when you are implementing such policies, certainly there are certain dynamics that will come up, and there are certain changes that will come up because you cannot foresee everything in the future. So as you implement, at least every 5 years, you will retreat and ask yourself, how are we faring with the policy? So you've got into that particular thing, and thank God that there is a committee in place to look at all the issues, and then we take it out from there. We believe that what we've been able to do, the kind of gaps that have been identified, and the recommendation that will come out with will tell us the way forward. So that is where we are going. I believe that our leader, Dr. Yama, has articulated all those issues. So we stand with him, and we want to assure him he has our backing.
All right. Dr. Ba, same question to you.
Thank you. But first of all, let me make a point about this whole thing about government says it doesn't have the money. This is not the first time we have heard this. When the banking sector was not going well, what happened? Government found money, even when it was not in the budget. over 20 billion Ghana cedis to address that issue. What we are saying now is that workers are suffering because we granted pay increase well below inflation. Now, if that is not taken seriously, and then there is this mantra of we don't have the money, when there is social unrest, government will have money to deal with it. And we should not wait until there's that labor unrest or social unrest. Because if it continues like that, and people cannot survive, and you know, when it comes to survival, there is no formula, there's no method. People will do whatever it takes to survive. And that is why we advise government to reconsider. What government is saying they cannot do is a matter of priority. What they are telling us is that workers' incomes are not priority for them. That's how I understood what happened yesterday.
So your understanding is purely that your interests are not priority for them. They are telling you they don't have the money. You say it's simply because they are not prioritizing.
That's what I'm saying.
Correctly.
My understanding is that if the time comes for them to find the money, they'll find it. But they shouldn't wait for that unrest to come before they find the money. They should be able to find the money. Because when something is not going well in the society, it is the responsibility and duty of government to address. So simply saying Ghana is going to lose 4 billion is not enough for us to just cow down and say, oh, okay, the president says government cannot pay 4 billion. What is that? That is not, so we have accepted to continue to dialogue. And we are hoping that something good will come out of the dialogue. And that dialogue is going to start very, very soon.
Right. Just tell me, when you suggest this civil or social unrest, what do you mean?
I mean, you understand social unrest. When people are pushed to the wall and they cannot survive and they cannot get what will make them survive, the very basic essentials. Let me even limit it to labor unrest. If workers decide today that if you don't want to grant COLA or you do not want to address the shortfall of our income in real terms, we will not go to work. That is going to derail everything in this country. That is labor unrest. If it is extended to social unrest where non-workers join and say that we support the workers, and then we are on the streets every day, what will happen? We will derail the process. So I think government should take us seriously, engage us as they have promised they are going to do. And then I think together we should be able to find a solution before the situation gets worse.
So you foresee that if they don't deal with your situation as you're suggesting, we shall get to this point?
I think so. I have told the president before 2022, and the president invited us to his office, and I told him, we had 2 hours of talking about employment crisis, incomes, and so on. And then he gave me the opportunity to end the conversation. And I told him that, Mr. President, I foresee that if we don't do what is right, something will happen. Social unrest. And you know how Ghana is politically charged. As we get close to elections, things will not be as we see today, because there will be a lot of heat. The temperature will rise. And though we don't have to wait until that time comes. And I hope the president will listen to us.
I am curious, Dr. Ba. Inflation currently stands at around 19.4%, and you're asking for a 20% COLA, cost of living allowance. Let's assume government goes ahead to grant you this, and then inflation shoots up again to, let's say, 30%, God forbid, because that would strangulate us. But let's assume that were to happen. Would you now go ahead and ask for another increment?
I don't know how old you are. God doesn't forbid 30% inflation in this country. We have seen 120% inflation in Ghana before. In the mid-1990s, inflation was around 70%. God did not forbid that. So things can happen if you don't work hard.
Of course, I use that term because it's not what we would want. It is not that I am not aware that we've had these gargantuan inflationary
who wants inflation? Nobody wants it. But in Zimbabwe, they have million% inflation. We have to work to make sure inflation is tamed. If that doesn't happen, then government has a big problem, because you have 700,000 workers. And these workers are providing all the essential services in this country. The teachers, the health workers, the police, the military, all these guys are on the payroll of government. And so if what you are giving them cannot even take them home, then there is a serious crisis. Therefore, it is the responsibility of government to ensure that inflation is tamed so that the demands from workers will also be minimized. But for as long as inflation goes up, we would demand that the salaries that we get for providing the services I have just mentioned should match inflation. That we will continue to demand, even if inflation goes to 100%.
Mr. Musa, let me bring you in as well. When you consider Article 71 office holders, for example, and their benefits, when you consider CEOs of state-owned enterprises and their benefits, some of them, getting 3 times what Mr. President gets and all of that, how do you feel, we can find some minimum level where everybody can benefit without a short, very limited percentage, about 7%, getting so much and the rest of you in the public sector getting so little? What do you think can be done?
You see, that is the concern we have in this particular country, where always workers should be told that about 56% of revenue goes into payment of compensation or go into compensation. The question is, if let's say the money is 100 Ghana cedis, and you have about 10% or even less than that of the workforce that takes 90 Ghana cedis, and you have the rest of about, let's say, you have a rest of about 80% of the workers sharing the 10 Ghana cedis. Will you say that everybody is benefiting from that? No. It is because of the way the compensation system, the current compensation regime that we have, that is what has created some of these problems that we are facing now. Because the money is going to some few, and the rest are suffering. And that is what yesterday, like I keep on making reference to what Dr. Yaban said yesterday, he indicated all those things. Then there is a need for us to, look at the compensation regime that we have in the country. So that in compensating people, compensate in such a way that when we all take our salary, everybody will be okay. When we all go on pension, everybody will not feel cheated or will not feel that you will not live long. So that everybody will have the opportunity of retiring into at least some 2-bedroom house when you, after working for 30, 40 years for the country. These are the issues we are talking about. But it cannot be that some people can build 3, 4, while there are people in the country, even the pension, they have nothing to take them home. And the moment they go on pension, death will be staring them in their face. So these are the things that we are talking about. And like I keep on saying, yesterday, our leader, Dr. Yaba, articulated all those things to the president. And this morning, we are glad that he has articulated the same thing. And I think the duty bearer should take what our leader is saying seriously, so that together we can see how best we can help the Ghanaian worker.
Right.
And we stand by everything he has said.
Right. To cap off the conversation, gentlemen, I would like to, I'll come to you, Mr. Musa, for your final take, maybe in about a minute. But Dr. Ba, I just want to find out, you have a bit of a divided front. You have CLOGSAG doing its own thing, and you have stood against the neutrality allowance, so to speak. They held their own May Day celebration, and you did yours as well. How do you think you can find some unity moving forward so that you can fight together?
First of all, it is not true to say that we are against the neutrality allowance.
Well, that is what has been suggested. They say you are.
Yeah, but we have never said that anywhere. We have never said that. What we have said was this, that if government grants the neutrality allowance to civil servants, that same allowance should be granted to all public sector workers who are supposed to be neutral. For example, Electoral Commission workers, NCC, the soldiers, the police.
Yes. I've heard you mention all of these. But what is the way? What is the way forward?
And so let me tell you, you'll be surprised to note that yesterday it was Isaac Bampuado, the executive secretary of CLOGSAG, who organized a press conference and said all kinds of things. Did you know that he came to the reception after the May Day celebration at the park, we went to a reception, and he was with us. So I asked him, you see,
Oh,
you
you
are
mean he was
portraying
with
this out there
you,
as if we
the
are divided.
TUC? He then joined you, the
Yes,
TUC.
yes, we were together. Yes, we were together with the president at a reception. And I told him that I warned him that, listen, don't go there and say things that will make people believe that organized labor is divided. We are not. We are not. We are going to fight this together because it's in our common interest.
So are you
If
suggesting then
anybody thinks
that the leadership of ClockSAG is being hypocritical? I mean, they're painting one picture
I don't know. I mean, you said it. I didn't say that. But what I'm saying is that what he said at the previous press conference that they will not participate in May Day, that didn't happen. Because I just want you to know that we are together. Things sometimes don't go as we all expect. Because, of course, we are human beings. But when they do, we come together, we trash things out. And I want to assure you that we are together because yesterday, the executive secretary of COSAC actually came to our reception and we had a chat. The president was with us and we joked and we were saying that, listen, don't do this again because it makes people think that we are not together. It's not good for our members. We can understand each other as leaders. But when you say things like that, our members may not understand how we get over this. But let me assure you and all workers of Ghana that on issues of incomes, on issues of jobs, I mean decent jobs, all organized labor groups are together.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Ba. Your final comments, Mr. Musa, before I let go of the two of you.
Certainly, we are all together.
Right.
Organized labor, we're working together. The speech that was delivered yesterday was delivered for and on behalf of organized labor.
Right.
So we stand together. Thank you very much and God bless you. Dr. Yaban, we are grateful. God bless you.
All right.
You're welcome, my brother.
Well, that's how we cap off the conversation, Dr. Ba. We're immensely grateful for your time, Thomas Musa as well. Dr. Yao Ba is Secretary General of the TUC. Thomas Musa is General Secretary of GNAT. But this is where we leave off the first part. We're coming to you with the second part, and we're asking you, the e-levy, I mean, what has been your experience so far? Have you paid it yet? Were you legitimately charged, or was there a bit of a problem? Share your experience with us on the AM Show. Share on social media with the hashtag AM Show. And when we activate the phone lines, we'd love to hear from you as well to know what your experience has been like. The next leg of the show continues right here on the AM Show. Do stay.